Hello, thank you for joining us today for the next webinar in our What's New series. In today's webinar, we'll cover some of the newest features in Microsoft 365 that you can implement in your business, as well as covering some brand new features that give us a bit of an insight into the future that may not have been released just quite yet. Don't feel like you need to make notes or take it all in straight away, as we'll be sending out a recording of the webinar and a follow-up fact sheet later today. Also, if you have any questions, please do feel free to drop those into the Q&A box at the side at any time. I'll be doing my best to try and keep an eye on that box, but if I don't get to your question at the relevant point, there will also be a little bit of time at the end for questions as well. So let's take a look at what we'll be covering today. This has actually been added to just in the last few days as Microsoft have released a few new features. So we've got quite a lot packed in today. We'll be looking at Teams video meeting updates, Microsoft Teams Connect, ways of syncing between OneDrive and SharePoint, an easy way to share meeting notes and keep up with all your meeting admin. We'll be taking a look at the next item in the Microsoft Viva suite, which is Microsoft Viva Goals. Then we'll be looking at Power BI integration for PowerPoint. And finally, we'll be looking at something new from us, which is the Bedrock Security Review Workshop, which we'll be releasing soon. Last of all, we'll be just letting you know what's next and how you can join us on the next webinar. So for those of you who may not have been on one of these webinars before or may not know us very well yet, let's start with a welcome. My name is Jennifer Benge and I'm the Marketing Manager at Bedrock. Bedrock is an IT managed service provider and Microsoft Gold partner. This means that most of the IT we implement is based on the Microsoft stack. This includes Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams, Azure, etc. We're also experts in secure, resilient networks and managed IT solutions where high performance is critical. So we work with organisations that have some of the highest security requirements in the UK. The most important thing we want to achieve, no matter what your organisation does, is to help your business to grow better. We do this with the help of our 8 rocks. These 8 rocks, as you can see on the screen here, are data, skills, investment, backup, strategy, security, quality of service, and collaboration. I've left that collaboration rock till last, as that's the focus of today's webinar. The tools that we're discussing here, such as Microsoft Teams and most of the Microsoft 365 apps, are collaboration tools at their heart. We've noticed that many people have loads of these apps already installed, they're already using them partially, but they're perhaps not using them to their full capacity and therefore not getting the most value out of their investment. So that's where we want to step in and make sure that you're really making the most of everything you're paying for. Started. The first item that we're looking at today as a new release within Microsoft Teams is the ability to enhance your video quality when lighting is poor by adjusting the brightness filter. As you can see on the screen there, it's just in the video settings. You can do it either before the meeting starts or during the meeting. If someone perhaps says to you, you're a bit dull there, I can't quite see your video properly, you can adjust the brightness settings while you're in the meeting itself. You can also use a soft focus feature to apply a subtle smoothing effect. I would say don't go crazy there. This isn't Instagram, this is just a Teams meeting. You do want your colleagues to be able to recognise you next time you see each other face to face. So I'm not sure I'll be using that one myself, but I think the brightness feature could be really useful, especially if your office is in a dull environment and you need just that little bit of extra help to make your video really easy to see. Simply navigate to the device settings to enable these filters. They're both just there for you, as you can see on the right-hand side. The next update is the fact that the View Together mode is now available for everyone. So Together mode creates a virtual shared space in which attendees feel like they're sitting in the same room. Now the meeting organiser and presenters can start Together mode for all participants. Previously, this view could only be enabled for your own personal view. So you would join a meeting and decide which way you wanted to see the other attendees. But now it's available, as I said, for the organiser or presenter to decide on that view for everyone. To enable this feature, simply select the Select Together mode for everyone option after you choose which scene you want everyone to appear in. Meeting participants can then join the experience together. This is currently only available for Microsoft Teams desktop users, so you won't be able to use this on the mobile version or the online version. Next up, Microsoft Teams Connect. This is something that we've been anticipating for quite a while. I think it was around the January webinar this year that we first mentioned that this was on the way, and it has now finally been launched and is publicly available. Using Microsoft Teams Connect, you can create a shared workspace across multiple companies where you can share timeline updates, assign tasks, brainstorm, launch strategy and discuss that strategy and more. From the Manage Channel page, you can see all the teams and members that have been invited to the channel, and that includes any external organisations that have been invited. You can then easily invite additional members to the channel using their email address, and that allows everybody to collaborate securely, have meetings, share files securely, and more. When a third party uploads and shares a file to the channel, everyone in that channel will be able to open the document and edit it just as you would if it was a normal Microsoft 365 app. So you can see in this example that's looping around at the moment, there's an example with a Word document where everybody within that connected Teams channel is able to access the same Word document and make their edits. The team can initiate a call from the channel where everybody can join the meeting directly or catch up with the recording or chat at a time that works best for them. So it's a really easy way to get collaboration across not just your own organisation, but across other external contractors, suppliers, partners, etc. Perhaps if you're running an event and you need contributions from external partners, I'd say this is a really useful feature to be able to use. The difference with this as well, obviously, is the fact that you don't need to log out into a different tenant to be able to access the different folders and files that you need. So everything can be accessed from within your normal Teams tenant. Then you don't have to log out to log into another organisation's channel to find everything. So as I said, it's been much anticipated. It is now rolling out, so it should be available with you very soon. Next on the agenda, we've got the connection between SharePoint and OneDrive. Again, this is something we've spoken about before, but it always gets a good reception, and there's always someone who didn't know they could do this. So if that's you today, don't be embarrassed at all. A lot of people don't realise how simple this connection is between SharePoint, OneDrive, and your File Explorer. So you can see on the screen one of my document folders from left to right in SharePoint on the left, Teams in the middle in dark mode, and on the right in File Explorer. You'll notice they're all showing exactly the same information because all the files are sitting in one place and you're just viewing them through different windows. Many people are using SharePoint now to store their files just because it's a much more efficient way to store things in the cloud to make sure everyone can access them. But you still maybe prefer the older File Explorer view. With Microsoft Teams and SharePoint, you can sync files between your computer and the cloud, so you get your files from anywhere. Synced files will appear in your File Explorer on your computer. If you add, change or delete a folder in your File Explorer, then the changes will sync to Teams and SharePoint and vice versa. You can work with your synced files directly in File Explorer and access your files even when you're offline. Whenever you're online, any changes that you or others have made will sync automatically. So it's just worth bearing in mind, wherever you prefer to access your files, whether you prefer the more traditional way of using that File Explorer view, or you're happy just to access them directly within Teams or SharePoint, it's totally down to you. You can choose the option that suits you best. And just always be aware that that file that you're accessing, no matter which window you're accessing it through, will always be the same, will always keep up to date with any edits that you or other people make. Something that you may have noticed more recently is the addition of an add shortcut option within Teams. I've put a yellow box around two of the options here. This makes it even easier to sync your files so that you can see them in the Explorer view. So you can see there at the top of on the top menu on the top line, there's an option to add shortcut to OneDrive. That will add all of the folders on that page to your File Explorer view. Or you can use the logo button, which is the smaller square next to the file name. You'll just then sync that one folder into your File Explorer view. It's worth bearing in mind that you can't sync the same folder twice. So say, for example, you'd already added the shortcut to OneDrive from that top option, which would then add all of those files underneath it. If you then tried to press the button to add just one file, you would get a pop-up saying this file's already been synced. Just to let you know that it's already in place, you don't need to resync it again. Moving on now to another fairly simple feature that you may not realise is available to you. It's another productivity aid. Here's a view of a meeting in Teams. This is one of the meetings that we have regularly every week. Funnily enough, by the name, it's called Weekly Sales and Marketing Meeting. And this allows you to keep all your admin of each meeting in one place. So you now have the option to get all Teams meetings recorded automatically. In this view on the left side, you can see there that this week's meeting has been recorded. It's available to view as a video and also download as a transcript. So that's something worth bearing in mind if you have a regular meeting that perhaps you have a large team attending and not everyone can always get there. This is an option to make sure it's always possible for those people that can't make the live version to catch up. Also within the meeting itself, you have on the top menu there meeting notes. Meeting notes are a great place to capture and share your notes before, during and after a Teams meeting. There are a few things to bear in mind if you would like to start using this option. Only people in the same organisation as the meeting organiser will be able to start or access the meeting notes. Meeting notes are available in meetings with up to 100 people. So if you're holding really huge meetings with more than that, these notes will not be available. And only people who are invited to a meeting before the notes are created will have access to them initially. If someone does then join afterwards and then request access, that is possible. The owner of the notes will be notified and they can just grant that access for the person who's requested it. As I said, these notes can be accessed before, during and after a meeting. This is perfect if you wanted to build up an agenda before the meeting, if you wanted to quickly capture some ideas that come up while you're talking during the meeting, or note any follow-up actions and note down what's happened with those actions after the meeting. So I don't know about you, but quite often we've had meetings in the past where there'll be one person saying, oh, I'll make the notes and email them out afterwards. That's just not necessary with this option now. Everyone in the meeting is able to edit, share, access these notes in one place. It's also quite handy just to know that you can go back to your calendar view, select the meeting that you know happened, and access the recording, transcript and notes from that meeting all in one place. So you know exactly where to look, where to find everything that you need. I think this is, again, another simple feature that you may not be already using that could save you a lot of time in the long run. Next up, we have covered a few items before in over the past year or so with the Microsoft Viva Suite. This is the next addition to the Microsoft Viva Suite. It's called Microsoft Viva Goals. We're expecting this to become publicly available at some point towards the end of summer. So this is one of those that isn't available right now, but it's something we'll keep an eye out for and let you know as soon as it is officially released. The idea is that it aligns the goals of individuals and teams to fit with the overall business priorities. Viva Goals brings business goals into the flow of everyday work, making it easier to stay up to date and connected with data and automated reminders. It will also enable users to share their progress across the organisation with customised dashboards and quick links. With clarity around business priorities and how everyone's work fits into these goals, it makes it much easier to identify where people should be spending their time, what they should be focusing on, and where they need to focus really to deliver their most valuable work. This is something that as an employer or an employee, it really helps to have that clarity to know for sure what you need to be working on, where the main business priorities are, and how your work feeds into that. So as I said, this is something that is being released towards the end of summer. It's on the way. You can see in this rolling video at the moment, it's just you can check in, give your progress updates, And it's very, very visual. It will give people an idea of how their goals are feeding into the overall priorities of the business. So we'll let you know as soon as we have an update or an official release date for that, or as soon as it is released, we'll do a more in-depth look of how we can go ahead and use it. Next up, we have the Power BI integration for PowerPoint. I know that one of our technical experts at Bedrock, Adam, is very excited about this. Anything involving Power BI, he is absolutely thrilled about. He loves all this data stuff. So this is a next step into being able to use Power BI reporting in a much more visual, functional way that everybody can sort of get behind and understand. We all know that we should be making data-driven decisions for our businesses, but then what's the standard thing you do when you want to try and drive a conversation and get people on board with those decisions? You tend to make a PowerPoint. However, when you have data in Power BI that is up to date, live and interactive, up until now, you've been sort of given the choice of screenshotting it or copy pasting it into a PowerPoint, which then makes it stagnant. It's no longer up to date the way it is in Power BI. As a result, it's up to you to manually create screenshots to keep your presentations up to date. Microsoft have just announced an add-in that lets you add Power BI reports and bookmarks to your slides and include the interactive experience of Power BI inside your presentations. With data storytelling, data will always be up to date in your slides. Whether you're building a presentation or presenting it to others, even in the live presented view, it will always be completely up to date. To use it, look for the Power BI button in the PowerPoint menu ribbon, or you may need to add it using the Get Add-ins button in the same menu. This is literally being rolled out this week, so if you don't have the option available in your menu ribbon right now, don't worry, it should be on the way very, very soon. Once the add-in is in your slide, all you need to do is bring the URL of a report page or a bookmark that you want to add to the presentation. You can also start with a Power BI report that you wish to use and then copy the URL that you want to use in an existing presentation, or you can use the Open in PowerPoint button to create a new presentation with this report page already in there for you. Once the report is loaded into the presentation, it is live and interactive, even when you show the presentation as a slideshow. You can use all of Power BI's slice and dice capabilities and really engage with your audience based on the data and insights that you have on that slide. With Power BI storytelling, you'll be able to respond to questions and feedback raised during a presentation and to look at a different view of the data by making new data selections right there in the PowerPoint to give you a more relevant view. So whereas up until now, you perhaps had a screenshot view of a report that you'd put together the night before or the week before your meeting, and it's not completely live and up to date, and you've only got that one snapshot view of that data. Now you can have a really open discussion during the meeting, and if someone asks a question or wants to see a different view of that data, that's absolutely possible, and you can do it directly within the PowerPoint itself. So you can change what you're looking at, manipulate the data, just to find out find the answer that person has asked for, and just show people a different visualization of that data that's there. The data in your slides will always be fresh, so you can trust it with any decision that you need to make. So rather than saying, oh, sorry, I have to go away and find that information for you, let's set up another meeting, let's do this again, everything is there for you right in front of you on the page. So as I said, this is very, very new. We only just found out about this in the last week or so, and it is rolling out. So we haven't been able to use it ourselves quite yet. We are absolutely ready to do so as soon as we can. But we'll do a more in-depth conversation around this. I think, in fact, we'll probably get Adam to talk you through this Power BI integration for PowerPoint, because I know he'll absolutely love to do that. And we'll get some really useful insights from him from a more technical perspective as well, of how we can really drill into that data and make it useful for your presentations. I think another point of view that I would use this for is we have regular monthly, quarterly, even some weekly meetings that you always use the same sort of selection of data. So if you could have a live snapshot of these graphs within that, then that saves you so much time each week rather than going to the report, copying it into your PowerPoint presentation. It's then available for you as a live view for each meeting that you have. Okay, let's move on now to a quick discussion about Bedrock's new security review workshop. So as I said in the introduction, Bedrock use our 8 rocks to help you make sure that you're getting the most value out of your IT investment. The security review workshop is very similar to those 8 rocks, but it's a much more in-depth look at the security version of everything you're invested in from a cybersecurity perspective. So this is a one-day interactive workshop where you'll be working with one of the Bedrock technical team to analyse the security features you already have in place and find perhaps there's some holes where attackers could still find a way in. In this workshop, you will discover where you could be duplicating investment in cybersecurity tools that are doing the same job. You'll be able to check that you're meeting requirements for your cyber insurance policy. So we know for sure that many cyber insurance policies won't pay out unless you're doing your bit to monitor and manage your cybersecurity properly. So we'll help you assess whether you're doing that, and if you're sort of safe in the long run. If there were to be a problem, you would know that you've fulfilled everything you needed to do. You'll be able to find out where the cracks are in your technology environment that may leave you open to attack. We will have a limited number of spaces coming up for this workshop. As I said, it will be a full day with one of the Bedrock team. So look out for more details coming to your inbox soon, and book your place ASAP if it's something that you think your organisation could benefit from. We'll be getting that information out to you as soon as we can. Hey, we've got quite a bit of time now for some Q&A. So any questions that you'd like me to cover, please do feel free to pop those into the Q&A box now. I can see Kara's also added in the sign-up form for the next webinar that we've got in July, where we'll be covering the next set of features that have been released by Microsoft. So if you do wish to join us again at next month's, please just follow that link and you'll be able to sign up there. How much is the workshop? is a question that we've had there. That is a very good question. We are just finalising it now. It will be a paid engagement, I can tell you that now. So we'll be able to get the details to you as soon as we can on that. Yeah, it will be a paid engagement where you get full access to the Bedrock technical team for a full day, just to go through your entire environment and cover all those points that we mentioned earlier. So it'll be we'll make sure you get the full value out of what we're looking at. The other thing about it as well is we've identified already with a number of customers that there is duplication of investment going on, particularly within cybersecurity at the moment. So there was a change earlier this year with the Microsoft 365 licensing for Microsoft E3, which now automatically contains Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which basically covers you for your antivirus protection. So some companies are paying twice. They're paying for their E3 Endpoint Defender license, and they're also paying for separate antivirus. So it's stuff like that we're looking for as well. Much as with the theme of this webinar, we want to make sure that you're getting the best value out of everything you're paying for. So if you're duplicating payment, you're wasting money that could be invested somewhere else in the business. So it's helping you identify that kind of thing as well will happen in that workshop. Okay. And it doesn't seem like there are too many other questions coming in today. So I will close the webinar there, I think. Let me just put that slide up there to say our next webinar will be on the 7th of July. So we do look forward to seeing you then. One last question has just sneaked in. Are there also links to past presentations? Yes, indeed there are. So you can access those in 2 different ways. All of our past webinar recordings are available either on the Bedrock website in the past events section, or just go directly to YouTube. They're all on our YouTube channel. Search for Bedrock on YouTube, obviously Bedrock with a Q, and you'll be able to find all of our recorded webinars there. James, one more question from you. What is the difference between E3 and E5? Essentially, E5 is kind of the bigger option. It covers more for you. You get more bang for your buck there. But that's a whole big conversation. I'll get someone to follow up with you specifically, if that's okay, James, just so that we can cover that with you fully. Okay, thank you very much for joining, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you again on the 7th of July. Have a good week. Bye.